Would you be okay living with that squeak in your hardwood flooring? So we screwed up when we were installing our brand new hardwood flooring by not screwing off our old subfloor to make sure it doesn't squeak. So now we have a problem. We have to fix this without touching it from the above. So let's go to the hardware store, get some supplies, and fix this squeaky hardwood flooring. So first thing we got to do is come downstairs and figure out which floor joist is squeaking. And you can literally feel the vibrations in this floor joist. That one's solid, is vibrating. That one is solid. So this is the one that we're going to be working on. So the game plan is, once we know exactly where the squeak is, we know exactly which floor joist the squeak is on as well, we're going to squish it down. So right here we have 8 times 4 is 320 pounds, plus some buckets of water. We're probably looking at like 350 pounds of weight coming down and holding this down. So now when we walk here, we don't hear that squeak that much. So what happens is now we squish the floor down. Then we're gonna go downstairs and then grab it to make sure it doesn't squeak again. Let's go. It's funny, like if you go downstairs and you actually look over here, you can see the separation right here, this gap. And what happens and why squeaks happen is basically you have a nail that's sticking, and then you have the plywood that's then is squeaking up against it. That's why squeaks happen, because there's not a good contact right here. So there's room for wiggling. So what we got to do here is we drilled all these pocket screws. We're going to try to get as much glue as we can into that gap right there. And then we're gonna do one more thing after to kind of reinforce this whole situation. I'm gonna drill a couple more pocket screws from the other side to really hold this thing down, and that squeak is gonna be gone. So now I'm gonna grab my Gorilla Glue heavy duty construction adhesive. This stuff is the best that you could use right here. It's meant for subfloor, wood, trim, everything. Holds really strong. 30 second, like basically, you need something overpowered to just really get a good bond on that. So this first step that we're going to be doing here is we want to make sure that we are kind of cutting that tip on a smaller side of it to allow for that thing to kind of be more almost like a syringe in the way. So we're not going to take too much off of the tip there. I really want to get some glue into that crack. And then once we kind of grab that with our screws, we're going to cut this a little more and go a little bit more aggressively. So let's load this up right here and then see if we can get some glue into that gap. So now that we get everything pre-drilled, we also pumped a lot of the Gorilla heavy duty construction adhesive in there to make sure that it's really, basically the goal is to mechanically grab it while we're chemically bonding everything, if that makes sense. The glue is what's going to make the magic happen here. The screws is what's going to try to hold it in place while the glue is grabbing it. That's kind of the goal here. So we have these pocket screws now that we're going to jam in there. Very important that we don't have the screws go through our floor. So we did do a bunch of little test pieces kind of under some cabinets where we wanted to make sure that it doesn't punch through. And I think we got that depth. So now we're going to go ahead and start screwing this down, and hopefully we see that this subfloor kind of comes down a little bit to grab. So now that we got our screws in there, I believe we grabbed it. What I'm gonna do next is add more glue, and then those little planks that we cut in there are going to go into here like that, squish some of that glue out, and then we're going to use our trim nailer and nail that in to kind of give it support, because I don't want all of that to be just kind of hovering on glue. We do want to give it some actual support to sit on, and that's what this is going to be. So it's the next day and all the glue downstairs is dry. So we're gonna remove all of this and see if it worked. Absolutely no squeaking. Really, really happy how that turned out. I think we definitely overkilled it, and we also ended up reinforcing a lot of some of the other ones. And basically that's how you fix a squeaky floor. Ideally, you don't get in this situation and you use the Gorilla heavy duty construction adhesive to begin with, so that there's no squeak that develop down the road to fix. That's how you do your work to not have any callbacks. For us, I don't think we'll ever gonna have any callbacks on this job because we put so much of this glue in there. This thing's gonna last forever. Thank you.